Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and if you'll notice, you'll see snow down on the ground in front of me and a lot of wind blowing into my ears, and that's because we have taken a trip away from beautiful, warm, sunny Southern California to Denver, right outside of Denver International Airport, as you can see with the planes coming in, to go on a little ski trip. And it's still sunny, but it is quite blustery, quite cold, and that's the reason we're here. But the reason you're here is to see this 2024 Mercedes-Benz GLS 450 take us up into those mountains on our skiing trip. This is one of the best companions I can think of for a skiing road trip weekend. We are equipped with Pirelli Soto Zero winter tires on, what size are these wheels? Because we are getting a little extra sidewall. This car would have come with 21s as spec'd from the factory. Oh, there's already so much salt. These are still 21s. Okay, so these are the 21-inch AMG style wheels, but we still get a good amount of sidewall. Might as well, while we're down here, see 21, 40. These are only 40 aspect ratio tires. Okay, they look a little thicker than that, but this car should still be ready to get us through whatever sort of avalanche warnings are out there in the mountains west of Denver and get us to Breckenridge safely. And not only safely, but also comfortably and in style, because with this twilight blue paint and this beautiful light tan, I'll have to look up the color of the actual interior here, but this nice interior color with this MB Tex, this should be a really nice place to be. I'm so refreshed to be in a Mercedes product with good, proper, open pore wood, and nice light color. I could go for a light colored steering wheel, but it still looks proper. We do have that third row. We're not really going to be utilizing that, but in a few hours here, I'm going to be picking up my buddy Matt, and we're going to be heading west. In fact, I might as well just fold these seats down. No, I think I'll probably keep them up for the time being, because that's going to keep our luggage a little bit quieter. But if I did want to fold them down, I could do so, looks like, would it be manually? No, power up and power down seats. That is good to know, because this is not a remarkably expensive GLS. This one only costs about $92,000. I know what you're saying, only $92,000, that's nearly $100,000, Charlie. Yes, but for a Mercedes GLS, I mean, a top tier flagship model Mercedes 3-row SUV, you could spend a whole lot more money. And you gotta remember, we had a GMC Yukon a few months ago that cost, what, $7,000 more than this? Pretty significant. So I'm really excited to get out of this blustery wind and get on the road here with this Merc. It's been a little while since we've been in a Mercedes GLS, really many Mercedes products in general. And one of our most popular Mercedes videos are the Burmester sound system videos. So check the link below. We are doing a dedicated review of this 13-speaker Burmester system, revisiting it after a few model years. I'll also be doing a members-only sound test, so you can check those linked down below. And also for any of you who are fans of Topher Drives, and you are saying, hey, Charlie, you're taking Topher Drives' road trip content style video. Why are you doing that? That is his. Don't worry, I asked him beforehand and he recommended I shoot a road trip video on this car, so that is what we're doing. One of the things Mercedes gets so right with luxury style driving is the fact everything's light and subtle. We talked about this with the Volvo S60 that we just shot for Daily Motor Car of the Year, and luxury shouldn't be sporty, it shouldn't be firm or aggressive or heavy. It should be light and subtle and easy. And so far, with my introductory time here in the GLS, that is what I've experienced, is subtlety. The car is quiet. It works easily and smoothly and well as I come up to a stop. Very progressive brake feel, very progressive throttle engagement. Nice light steering. Is it pinkyable? Yes, I do think it is. The infotainment and technology can be overwhelming in a Mercedes-Benz, a newer one, if you haven't spent time with it. Once you spend time with the car, then it does get easier. And you might watch some other reviews of newer Mercedes products, and some of the journalists might tell you, oh, the technology is too convoluted. And admittedly, I've been guilty of saying something similar when it comes to their EQS products, or rather just the EQ products. But with this slightly older system, it's a little bit more easy to use, and once you've spent time with it, not just maybe a few days like some of the journalists have, but if you really spent time and got to know it, it is a pretty intuitive system, especially because you can either touch it or use the trackpad to navigate around, or use the steering wheel if you want to keep your hands on the wheel. So we'll find out after many hours behind the wheel here if it's been a joy to have around, and if my passenger finds it easy to use, or if it becomes frustrating. So I'm gonna get out on the road here and shoot a little bit of our sound system review. I'm gonna go pick up Matt from the airport and we are going to head westward. We are about an hour into our 2-hour journey out to Breckenridge, and I've picked up Matt.
Howdy.
And we are cruising along comfortably. And he asked me a little bit ago, what are some of the fancy features here of the GLS 450? And instead of simply telling them to him, I figured I would let you all know as well. So I'm not reading the window sticker directly in front of me, but I do know that at about this $92,000 price tag, we do have the acoustics package, which adds extra insulated side glass and front glass and makes it just that much more quiet in here. And as you can sort of tell if I'm quiet for a moment, there's virtually no wind noise here in the cabin. We do hear a little bit of tire rotation, but we're running those winter tires, so those are going to be louder than your standard set of rubber that would have come on the car. We have a pretty advanced adaptive cruise control and active lane keeping system. So if I were to set the cruise right now at 70 miles per hour, I get a little indication that the car has the lane and it could simply drive itself for us. Now, when it gets really aggressive like this, obviously you need to be keeping attention to the wheel, and it's not a type of level 3 system where you can entirely not pay attention. You are still intended to have your hands on the wheel, and the car will tell you if you don't have your hands on the wheel after about 10 or 15 seconds. It'll warn you. But it's something nice to have if you're paying attention to your navigation or kind of being distracted by kids or passengers or something like that. It's good to have a fallback there. What else do we have? We do have, as I mentioned earlier, the 13-speaker Burmester sound system, so if you want to listen to some music later, we've got pretty good tunes there, and I'm going to be recording the members-only sound test here, so if you all want to hear some of that, tune in there. What else?
So, question for you, Charlie.
Yeah.
I've never ridden in a Mercedes before.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
this is all right.
So that's not a marketing ploy. I have literally no. So what makes this like nice per se for someone who's blue collar, like not necessarily one for frills and fancy pants things?
Right. Well, I was just thinking, you're getting your new to you Highlander here coming here soon, your Highlander hybrid, so you're not going to care at all about the Mercedes because you've got a new car coming. But
that is true.
Yeah. So yeah, why would you spend $92,000 on this one versus something like $50,000 on the new Highlander, which is kind of similar size inside? We have a tight third row back there. Well, first of all, how has your seat comfort been over the last hour or so?
It is very comfortable.
Yeah, very comfortable. Have you adjusted your thigh support on this top right here?
No, so I legitimately didn't know what this button did, and I looked at it and toyed with the button. The seat literally extends out.
Mm-hmm.
That is so cool and unique, but I didn't know that like type of thing even existed.
Right, and for somebody like you who's a taller person and longer legs, I mean, you're going to want to curate a seat more to somebody like yourself versus if you were 5'2" like Alyssa, you don't want a very long thigh because it's going to make your seat very uncomfortable. So that's something that you're getting in a more luxury sort of product like this. Mm-hmm. Obviously, your heated and cooled seats, that's going to be nice. Also, as I was telling Matt a little bit before we started filming, we have seat kinetics in this car. Mm-hmm. So if I can keep my eyes on the road and simply operate the infotainment right here with my thumb. I could bring up this screen and you all can see seat kinetics. That's slightly modulating the seat as we drive along to simply put little bits of different amounts of pressure and take off different amounts of pressure on parts of your body and parts of your feet, or not your feet, but your legs and your butt and your back, to kind of just make you feel a little bit less fatigued as longer drives go on. It's not something you'd use in something like a morning commute. It's not a full massage like you could option in this car. What else? Obviously, there's the ambiance. I mean, you get in, you have this real open pore wood, and you have this actually not real leather. It's synthetic leather, MB-Tex as it's called, but
it feels real. Yeah,
it feels real, and a lot of studies have shown that most people don't care if it's real leather or not. They just want, as long as it feels like real leather and it feels nice to be in, that's plenty fine with them. In fact, you and I are both good friends with somebody who studies seats in luxury vehicles.
Yes.
And he has studied those a lot, that customers don't actually care if it's real leather or not. Other very subtle things about being in a more luxury type product. If we were to have an accident here, just before the car makes collision with something that it can sense is going to be an accident, out of the speakers it would blast what's called pink noise, which it'd be a loud noise, and it would precondition our eardrums to naturally protect itself, so that when the loud impact of the airbags going off and the actual collision of the car happens, your hearing is less likely to be damaged.
Wait, really?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. Also, that's the second thing I've learned today.
Yeah, that's something that, for the best of my knowledge, is unique to Mercedes-Benz, because Mercedes and Volvo are sort of the two leaders. That's something we'll go over here in a moment. If you say the word Mercedes, the infotainment will start listening to you. So this brand and Volvo are two of the most concerned about safety brands on the market. And I would argue Lexus is up there as well, but Mercedes, for decades, has put in actual industry-leading technology into their cars when it comes to safety features. Usually you find them in the E-Class, surprisingly, but then they usually make themselves into the S-Class, and this being the GLS-Class, it's kind of the top-tier SUV in their lineup. What else is pretty unique? I mean, I'm sure there are all sorts of various kind of not flashy safety features, like just the build and construction of the vehicle that would keep us safe, and many, many airbags around the cabin. I'm getting my navigation given to me in the little screen right in front of me on the gauge cluster, nice. So even though the nav's not there, I can see in 40 miles we have a right turn coming up. When we go to run like the windshield sprayers, 3 very aggressive sprayers that get the windshield very, very clean, not really any streakage.
Oh, this is fancy.
Yeah, yep. Have that closed to kind of keep it a little quieter in here. Yeah. Now you see some of the ambient lighting around the cabin. Mercedes has some of the best ambient lighting, and you could change that to any color in the rainbow, and various parts of the car as well. And even things like when you turn your heat up, you can see it glows red. When you turn your heat down, it glows blue. So that's just kind of fun, silly sort of things. In today's day and age of technology, a luxury vehicle, you can't just have standard features like heated and cooled seats and a heated steering wheel. It doesn't make it luxury anymore, because you can get that in Chevy. You have to kind of go a balance of above and beyond from a wow factor, and also above and beyond in things like safety and comfort. I don't know. Open the glove box, will you, real quick? Yeah. Is there a little cartridge in the top left anywhere? Something that looks like a round cylinder?
Not that I can see.
Okay. That probably means we don't have it then. Some Mercedes products have an actual perfume, a scent, and when you turn it on in the HVAC system, it'll smell very good.
Interesting.
But yeah, I don't think we have that in here. A lot of things are optional. This one we're running in costs about $92,000. With the right configuration, you could get one of these over $200,000.
$200,000?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for a GLS-63 or a Maybach GLS-680. This is simply the 450 model.
Oh, wow. Also, I'm curious, so you can run the heat and the cool at the same time?
Yeah, that's a German car thing. Pretty much only German cars you can do that, but it's considered the cooling is going to provide a fan. Okay. But the heating is just kind of more of a radiant sort of heat. So consider a situation perhaps like you just were in the gym. Okay. You played racquetball or something like that. So you're sweaty.
Got my swole on.
Right. But then you come out into your car and it's cold outside. So you're kind of feeling chilled, but also you're sweaty. So you might want to be drying yourself off with the cooling element, but also not getting cold, so you have the radiant heat going.
Okay.
Yeah. That's something you don't get very often. And my buddy Chris would be very happy that you noticed that.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to lie. I noticed it, and I thought it was a mistake. I was like, there's no way this is a mistake. It's not a $2,000 car.
Right.
Someone smarter than me designed this intentionally. Mm-hmm. So what's the thought process?
That's it.
Oh. Interesting. That's great.
Obviously, we have both individual climate, not only just temperature, but you could have, say, the air blowing on your feet, whereas I could have it blowing on my face. And in a lot of cars with dual zone climate control, you can adjust the individual temps, but not where the air is going. And then rear passengers as well would get, they probably have their own climate back there. Yep, second row seats. In fact, I could set it right back here if I wanted to set what's going on in the second row. So if we were doing this ski trip here with our wives, then they could be back there setting their own individual settings.
That's legit.
Yeah, and ultimately, I talked about this a little bit in the intro of the video, but from my perspective, the steering is very light. All the throttle and the brake is making it so you probably barely even notice when I'm accelerating or decelerating. It's all a very calm sort of application. And it's because this is actually what they call a mild hybrid system.
Okay.
So I'm going to get a little technical here on you, but pretty much every car runs on what's on a 12-volt electrical architecture. So you have your 12-volt battery that you'd use, for jump starting the car or whatever, and all the wiring, all the electrical systems in the vehicle run on 12 volts. And you know enough about electricity that you understand what that means.
Yeah.
Well, newer, more high-end sort of vehicles are switching over to 48-volt architecture. So obviously much more powerful and provides much more impact, and can allow you to actually have a lot less wiring in a car, because you can just have thicker but fewer wires in order to provide the same effect.
Interesting.
And the other thing that provides is the ability to start and stop the engine without your conventional sort of like like the car starting up, because you're having a much stronger punch. It can simply like turn on the motor and you'll never even hear it turn on. It's very, very subtle, and I'll point it out to you later on when we're driving, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's a good point on the smoothness of it, because we went bumper to bumper for like 15 minutes. I honestly didn't notice it.
Yeah,
it's very smooth. The acceleration's smooth. I mean, you're obviously a really good driver, so your skill will kind of taper into that. But I haven't really noticed any aggressive stopping and starting, even though we were in that for a while.
Right. The car really helps with that. So much so that you get in a luxury vehicle like this, and sometimes rather than starting off from a stoplight in first gear, the car will start in second gear, because first isn't even really needed, and it knows if it starts off in second gear, it can provide a smoother, more gradual acceleration for its passengers.
Interesting.
Yeah, so now that we're kind of out here, getting out and the traffic's sort of breaking up, and looking at some beautiful mountain scenery.
Yeah, seriously.
Got the cruise control set. It sounds like we've got some wind outside, but we're being decently isolated. Yeah, I think this is going to be a good rest of the drive for us, and we'll catch up back with you on our way back in a few days. Whew, 2 long ski days, successful. Matt and I still have all of our limbs, and we're making it back west here, or east rather, on I-70. And as you can see, I don't have my feet or my hands on the steering wheel, and that is because we have Mercedes stop and go assist. So even more so than the standard adaptive cruise and active lane keeping that we had at higher speeds, when you're below, I think 15 miles per hour, it's a little different for every brand, but this will actually take us through the traffic here. And it's not quite as advanced as some of the other systems that you can get from Mercedes and from other luxury manufacturers, in that you never have to touch the steering wheel. You do still have to touch it every now and then, but you can see how long I can go with my hands off the wheel. And even with some lines that are a little coated with gunk, the car is driving us. So I was able to adjust the climate control or take care of something here in the center without having to be quite as attentive to the traffic situation in front of me. And that's definitely nice, because as you can see with our wireless Android Auto here, we've got a 4-minute slowdown as the lanes are coming together up here. And rather than having to be stressed about it, I can simply let the GLS navigate us through. We've got a few hours of driving left here today, and I'll report back to you here on the end. But so far, this has been an excellent ski weekend car. We had enough room in the back to slide 2 sets of skis and poles in between the second row seats, and obviously still room for all of our bags and all of our gear. We've been comfortable and climate controlled, and we're about to test out the 13-speaker Burmester sound system here, so check the link below if you'd like to see that. And we'll catch up with you here once our trip is wrapping up. Had a little bit of a detour here in order to get us to circumvent a little bit of the I-70 traffic, and we're getting to experience some of the road imperfection absorption here with the GLS air suspension, giving us a little extra ground clearance in off-road mode, but soaking up these rough mountain roads pretty darn well. And also, of course, with the winter tires on there and our all-wheel drive, not too nervous about taking any sort of shortcuts, because I'm pretty sure this thing's going to be able to handle anything that is a paved road. Also some beautiful scenery here that we get extra given to us by this big panoramic sunroof above. You can see up the hills. That's kind of nice. And again, just a nice light steering. Very easy to drive it through this sort of situation. Despite this being a 3-row vehicle, it by no means feels cumbersome. And if we weren't being slowed down by a CX-5 up here in front of us, we actually probably could have had a little bit of fun through those corners. I love getting to do these road trip, living with, lifestyle-y sort of videos with cars, because it brings out elements of what it would be like to truly own a car. And sometimes they're really subtle things that either make the experience nice, or they make the experience less than nice. And my most recent example was the Nissan Pathfinder that Nathan and I and Chris Brower all kind of reviewed and drove around Michigan. I was ready to be done with that car. It's a lot nice on paper, and it is competent. It did all the things we needed it to do, but it wasn't satisfying from a driving and owning perspective. That is not the case with this GLS 450. I've said goodbye to my buddy Matt. He is off doing other things here in Boulder, Colorado, and I'm heading back to the airport, which reluctantly means I have to give this car back to Mercedes. And gosh, they made a 3-row crossover that you want to spend time in. That even though usually when you're driving a 3-row crossover, you're using it as a means to an end. Like this weekend, the main goal wasn't to go out driving. The main goal was to go skiing, or maybe you're taking your kids to school, or maybe you're hauling things around in the back of it. What I like about the GLS is that between the driving dynamics and the luxury features, it creates a nice place to be, and it makes it more enjoyable to go do those things that you might not want to be doing, or that you might just need to be getting to do. Maybe you're excited to do it. You couldn't care less about the car. You just want to be there. Between the sound system and even not being the top tier Burmester high-end sound system, is still very, very good. I was very happy with that. Happy with the infotainment. Happy with the usability of the space. I mean, when you're doing something like a ski trip here, you're opening and closing the hatch a lot. You're opening the doors and putting things in there, and you're folding seats up and down, and you're trying to find the hat that you swear you had 5 minutes ago, and it's somewhere in the car, and you're forgetting something, so you're coming back out to it and opening and closing it. So really subtle things like having proxy key lock and unlock on all 4 doors, and having the ability to kick open the rear tailgate. Again, very subtle, simple things, but they all add up to be a nice product when they work well. And now here that I'm wrapping up my time, we've done, how many miles have we done so far driving? 220 miles. This is, I'm just cozy in the car. I'm comfortable in the seat. I thought I had my heated seat going. It seems to have shut itself off. Got the heated seat going, got the heated steering wheel on, got the nice ambient lighting. The bright headlights, when they're on, oh my gosh, they work so well, and they nicely light up the road as they kind of unfold to you. And even the standard lights seem to be pretty darn competent. Here's another super subtle thing that, again, you wouldn't really notice without driving this car at night and driving many different types of vehicles. Mercedes still gives you a physical controller here on the left side to adjust the brightness of the screen. So here is it all the way bright, and then here is it more dim. That's not a huge level of adjustment, but so many new vehicles have been changing it to where there is no physical control for that to save money, and you have to do it within the screens. And sometimes when you get in a car and it's bright, or you get onto a different road and it's bright, you just need to quickly change your screen brightness. So I appreciate that the GLS still has that physical control. In fact, we still have a lot of physical controls in here. All the physical controls for the climate, for the media, for the cruise control. It all works really, really well. I've been happy with it. This inline 6 48-volt mild hybrid system has netted us just under 25 miles per gallon for this trip. But what is more important to me than just the outright fuel economy, which that's a fairly decent number for kind of the mountain driving that we were doing, all sorts of different driving scenarios, and being in the colder weather with winter tires. But because we have nearly a 24-gallon fuel tank in this car, I'm just coming up above half a tank. I got about maybe 5/8 of the tank left here, and we still have 400 miles of estimated range. So we've already done 221 and still got a whole way to go. That's really important to you, again, if you're using it for a road trip like this. The fact we were able to go out, do our skiing, come back here into Denver, and not even need to think about putting fuel in this anytime soon. Again, really subtle things that are going to make your life nice with the car. Something that has frustrated me a little bit, and I understand there's a remedy for it, but the screen is really far away here in the center, so I have to reach way up and forward if I want to touch it. Now, obviously, you do have the center trackpad here, but some of the controls are not very intuitive to operate with the center trackpad. I do prefer some of the rotary knob setups like you get in the BMW. You can get to things faster and quicker and more confidently using that rotary clicker and push method like in the BMW and the Mazda versus this touchpad setup here in the Mercedes. But if the screen were closer, then it wouldn't be as big of a deal. I could simply reach up and touch it more easily. On top of that, because we do have this big touchpad area, the center console isn't the most efficient use of space. When we're doing a road trip like this, we got waters going on and cell phones and snacks. we often found ourselves just setting things on top of this area where the buttons and controls are, and that makes it so that Matt was having to move things around for me to operate the volume and the different hotkeys here. I could go for a little bit more stuff storage in the center. And yeah, you have the center console area, but it's not very big, and you still have to open it to get inside. So could go for a little bit more center area for stuff for road tripping. And the wireless device charger we found doesn't work very well. I have a Google Pixel 8 Pro, he had an iPhone 14 Pro, and neither of them remained charging on the charger. They started charging, they lit up and got a few percent, but then they stopped charging and simply got very, very hot. So something to keep in mind there, wireless charger could be improved upon. But outside of those mild things, I have really enjoyed the GLS 450 for this trip. It's a great powertrain, great interior, it looks proper, rides great, and also turns heads. I mean, to somebody like Matt, who's not regularly doing car things with me, he was blown away by this car. So you have to remember that a lot of us journalists and YouTubers and frequent video watchers sort of get jaded with these vehicles and think, oh, $90-some thousand, of course I should be doing these things and everything like that. But to him, it was a really unique experience getting to ride in a car like this. So don't forget that to normal people that don't get exposure to all these cars, this is a really, really special thing. So that's going to wrap it up for us. Thank you all so much for watching. Hopefully you found something useful here with the GLS 450. If you do want to see more on it, check the link below. We got those sound system reviews, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, ambient light on. I didn't prep one.